How's it going, guys? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Georgiman and I'm your friendly neighborhood anime and manga fan. I love all things anime and all things manga, and I'm here today to talk about Chainsaw Man chapter 206. So, what did I think about this week's chapter? So, right from the get-go, I thought this week's chapter was great, and the main reason was because it really showcased Denji's regrets as well as how he feels guilty after the revelation of last chapter, which was, the plot twist of the fake Chainsaw Man being the twin of the person that Denji let die pretty much at the beginning of the part 2, where he had a decision between saving a cat and a civilian, and he chose the cat. And it seems from this week's chapter that after finding that out, that really has haunted him, and really he starts feeling regret towards his decision. And it really showcased just how powerful and how much of a threat the Falling Devil is, which I'm very curious to see how Denji and Asa will take care of her in the future. Now, before I go any further with this week's chapter, I just want to give you guys a quick reminder to make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel so you guys can be up to date with all my Chainsaw Man as well as all my anime and manga content that I'll be providing in this channel. It really helps out a lot, and I would really appreciate it if you guys could subscribe to my YouTube channel. So if you guys could, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Now, with all that out of the way, let's talk about this week's chapter. So this week's chapter starts off where we see that pretty much Denji is facing down the Falling Devil, and right from the get-go, Asa and Yoru are like, hold up, Denji, that's the Falling Devil. And Denji's like looking at her, and then he just goes, chess? And it's like, oh my god. And then he's like, you really don't remember me, huh? And it was hilarious just how Denji, the first thing he thinks about is like, oh, just big chess. And it's like, hey, listen, Fallen Devil's physique, she built different. All right, that's all I'm saying, guys. Like, Fujimoto loves showing us how much of a voluptuous devil she is, and Denji surely appreciates it as well. But in a serious note, as we see that they're talking, we see that Asa and Yoru is like, hey, no, like, don't fight her alone because you need my help. Like, come rescue me, and then we can fight her together. And this is an interesting part of the chapter where we see that the Fallen Devil's like, all right, go ahead. Like, listen, you can go and save her. Like, I don't care what you do. Just don't get in my way. Like, listen, as long as you guys are not bothering me and my leader, which is obviously the Death Devil, you guys can do whatever you want. You're just bearing pawns of the whole thing. Just don't get involved and let me do what I gotta do. And that thing that I gotta do is plunge the world into a deep despair. Mankind as a whole, I gotta plunge it into a big despair. And we see how she's seeing all this, you see chaos all around the surroundings where she's lifting up buildings and whatnot. And this is where Denji's like, all right, man, I'm going to do my thing. I'm going to be Chainsaw Man and just, like, cut you off. And this is where Asa and Yoru, like, they pretty much warn Denji's like, don't do it, Denji, because they have fought the Fallen Devil and they've been taken into the whole despair thing by her. So they are very well acquainted with her powers. And that's where it's like, Denji, don't do it. And as soon as he goes and strikes her, we see that Denji gets trapped into the fallen world's, like, inner psyche, mental warfare that she loves doing, where she pretty much just, like, toys around with Denji, and she's like, oh, listen, you haven't changed at all, have you, since the last time we met? Your chain says I don't fear them at all. Like, I'm not scared of you whatsoever. However, I know what you're afraid of. And as she's saying all this, you see this demonstration of the Fallen Devil, kind of like a big head of hers, and Denji just kind of like being succumbed by it. And this is where we see that pretty much Denji starts being confronted by his past. And similar to how Asa was being confronted by her past when she was trapped in the Fallen Devil's, like, domain or whatever. And we see that pretty much a person comes out of the mouth of the Fallen Devil, and that person happens to be the twin that pretty much was the fake Chainsaw Man. And he starts talking to Denji. Either the twin that was the fake Chainsaw Man, or I think is actually the person that died. My bad. They're twins, so whatever. Either way, you see that he's like, oh, you remember this, huh? You feel now regrets, huh? You had a choice and you chose the wrong choice. You should have saved me. And he just kind of goes on this whole tantrum where he just pretty much tells Denji, like, you let me die, and you gotta live with that because you made your decision. And he's like, listen, I can't wait for that to happen to you too, like, where you have to make a terrible decision, and when you have to make a decision that you'll live in regret and you'll be haunted. And he's like, you took something precious from us, so it's only fair that happens to you in the future. And as he's saying all this to Denji, we see that there's an imagery of Denji as a kid, like the inner kid of Denji, the one that has been always, haunted by his trauma ever since, killing his dad and why not. We see that he's saying, I'm sorry, and then he's like, you took someone precious from us. And that's where we see that the twin gets split in half, and the Fallen Devil, the representation of pretty much how Denji defeated how the Denji not only took care of the fallen the fire devil, quote unquote, but also defeated like he let the twin die, as well as, you know, he did kill the other twin. So it's a double whammy where, you know, all of this is coming to Denji at once, and Denji's being overwhelmed by all this grief and, you know, regret from his own past decisions. And this is where we see Denji just kind of like losing his like, I'm sorry. And this is where the fallen devil's like, just fly off, like, you know, you're still a pawn in our entire plan. We still need you and all, but you can just like fly off and like leave us alone. And as all that is happening, we see that Asa and Yoru is like, no, we gotta save Denji. And this is where Asa is about to use her bang attack, you know, where she points her finger and she's gonna shoot. And this is where Yoru was like, no, don't do that, Asa, like stop. And then this Asa being like, what are you doing? And then this is where we see that pretty much apparently how the power works is that since they're covered in rubble, if Asa proceeds to use her bang attack, pretty much that will reflect towards themselves. Like they'll be caught in the crossfire, like shooting a shotgun at close range. Like, you know, you get all the whiplash, I guess, or any sort of like explosive attack. Like you'll get caught in the blast. And this is where, you know, Asa is like thinking about it, and she's like, nah, I'm gonna do it. And then Yoru's like, don't, Asa, you stupid. And then you see the pretty much the aftermath where the robo got taken care of, but she got caught in the crossfire. And she looks hurt. Like, you know, you see her like kind of doing the Yamcha pose in some regards, where she's kind of like laying on the floor, like, you know, because that must have hurt. Like, obviously, we've seen the capabilities of that attack. I'm sure she narrowed it down, like limit her power to obviously not kill herself from that amount of, you know, power being reflected towards her or being caught up in the blast. So, but still, that must have hurt her a lot, because she's like getting up and she's kind of like wobbly. And as she's, you know, getting up, she's like, Denji, like I'm gonna go rescue you. And this is where we see that pretty much she gets up and she starts rushing towards Denji and the fallen devil. And how the chapter ends is where we see that Yoru pretty much, as Denji's being sent flying, Yoru takes Asa, like, you know, she starts rushing towards Denji, and she eventually grabs him by the leg and is like, Denji, I got you, like, stop. And this is where I can start, you know, speculating what might happen. And why my prediction is that she will be the main key of Denji going back, like snapping back into reality, you know, getting out of that whole despair and regret regarding the person that he let die, you know, what, the twin. I'm sure that, you know, Asa will do the same thing that Denji did to her back with the fallen devil. How, you know, when, you know, Asa felt like there was no point in living, you know, she had no real motive in life, how Denji showed up, or Chainsaw Man at that point, because she didn't know that, how Chainsaw Man like saved her, and she was like, you know, there's more things to life, like sex. You know, that whole funny scenario, you know, it might be funny where, you know, Asa actually turns around, where Denji might be like, there's no point in living, you know, what's the point of living anymore, you know, I'm a piece of crap, like, you know, I should just like perish. What if Asa actually turns it around? She actually, you know, holding him, and she's like, no, there's many beautiful things in life, like sex. Like, what if she throws that back at him? That'll be a great full circle moment, in my opinion. But yeah, that was the end of the chapter, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a very effective chapter, and you know, relaying the information that, you know, Denji is being haunted after knowing the fact that, you know, the whole revelation of the Fire Devil last chapter, of how Denji let someone die, as well as how Denji killed somebody that, you know, he, not just one person, but both people that were very, you know, they looked at Chainsaw Man as a hero. How that's really eating up Denji within him, and it was really showcasing in this chapter, and I really appreciate it. And yeah, this chapter, like I said, I thought it was really cool, and I think the next chapter, like, you know, Asa will be the main key of getting Denji back in his groove, you know, getting him back in a proper state of mind, and that's how himself and the Yoru and Asa will be able to defeat the Fallen Devil, because the Fallen Devil is really powerful, so they definitely need to team up on her. Because otherwise they won't stand a chance, because the Falling Devil is very powerful. We already saw that she's able to take down Asa, like, and Yoru easily, so they definitely need the 2v1. You know, they gotta jump her, in other words, because otherwise it's gonna be a very extremely difficult fight, and they can't afford this at this point in time in the story where the Nostradamus prophecy is about to happen, so they can't, you know, mess around and waste any time. But yeah, with all that being said, what did you guys think about this week's chapter? Did you guys love it? Did you guys hate it? Did you guys thought it was alright? Whatever you guys thought, let me know in the comment section down below. Also, thank you so much for sticking all the way to the end of the video. I really appreciate it. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel for more Chainsaw Man, as well as more anime and manga content in the near future. But yeah, with all that being said, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Bye bye.